Hi folks, this is All the Fruit and I'm in the beautiful huge fruit tree collection of the Ministry of Agriculture in Algarve in Portugal. With me is Senor Antonio Moreiros, who is the engineer agronomist, who is the specialist responsible for all those fruit tree collections, and he was so kind to show me around because the collections are basically not openly accessible but are free to people with funded interest in the fruit trees. So here in Tavira they don't have a lot of different fruit species. They concentrate on huge collections of several fruit species. Here, for example, they have almost 100 varieties of figs, most of them local traditional varieties. Here they have a lot of varieties of olive trees. As you can see, the trees are not very thoroughly pruned. That's because one of the things they research here, they have collected a lot of old varieties. They research the way they grow. They plant them in one field under the same conditions and then see how they grow. So in a year or so they are gonna prune all the trees around here, but for now they need to see the differences between the different genotypes, between the different varieties under the same conditions. Here they have a huge almond collection. I forgot how many, but I think it's also close to 100. Most of them, or I think with the almonds, all of them are traditional varieties. Right here we have mostly early varieties, but at the other side of the collection there were also a lot of late ones flowering right now. Senor Moreiros told me that they are all grafted on peach almond. The peach almond we know from Germany, the ornamental peach almond, which we grow so much in Germany because of the big early flowers and the frost resistance. Well, it seems that here it's also quite resistant. We don't need huge frost resistance here, but it seems to be so resilient they use it as a rootstock for all those almond varieties. He also told me something interesting about this wheat here. Like, I've known this plant here, Konica albida, for almost 15 years in Germany, where it became more common with time, but it became only a big problem in Germany about 4 years ago. And I thought the Mediterranean, with its milder climate, must have had trouble with this thing for decades. But he told me no, same thing here. It was present before, but about 4 years ago it started becoming a huge problem. A huge problem in agriculture in the area of Algarve. Resilient, resistant to pesticides, doing a lot of damage to the local agriculture. And same thing in Germany. 4 years ago it started to become a big agricultural weed, also a big weed in the forests, and a big problem in nature conservation. Here is the carob collection. Carob is a very important fruit tree in the Algarve. The huge sweet pods have been a very important food for humans and for animals for thousands of years. And if you think it's a plant of the past, no. Nowadays the farmers are quite happy. The price has risen tenfold because the seeds are being used to produce a substitute to gelatin. Here they have 41 different varieties, 3 plants per variety. Of course, of all those plots they have exact maps telling them which plant is which variety. Those all grafted on one single rootstock. Here I cannot see it that well. Here, so those are not seedling trees, they are grafted trees. Clones of the original trees, clones of the different varieties. Yeah, very important tree, and it's good, in my opinion, that it has retained or regained its importance in the regional agriculture, because we have lots of old carob trees around here, 300-400 years old, and they don't have legal protection, but they have the protection of the rising prices of carob fruit, which might preserve one or another. Here you see the traditional varieties on the left side, the traditional regional varieties of Algarve, and here on the right side you see a lot of Spanish and French varieties and even American varieties. Do you notice the difference? The Spanish, French and American Californian almonds, they are blooming, while the local ones, they have already finished blooming weeks ago. They already have quite decent sized fruit. That's because on the Algarve, frost is quite rare, and also late frosts are quite rare, so the almonds can afford to bloom quite early. While in France, or in the middle of Spain, or in California, winter frosts and late frosts are much more common, so the varieties, they bloom many weeks later. Each of the trees has a little tag with a number, and in the administrative building they have a map with the names of all these varieties and with the numbers on the tags. So when they do observations, they can always say which tree, which variety they have observed, and of course when they need to take grafts for other farms and gardens, they don't get confused and they choose the variety they intend to choose. This is the collection of Valencia late oranges. I think most of them are the Don Juan variety. This is not a collection of different varieties, but this is more an experiment in integrated pest control. How was it in Portuguese? Something with integrada, but I already forgot the name in Portuguese, but it's basically a big experiment in integrated cultivation. Here they have around 250 different grape varieties: white grapes, dark grapes, table grapes, wine grapes. A lot of them are traditional regional varieties, but they also have the big European varieties with which they experiment here. Here a small collection of American pecans, Caria illinoinensis, a nut which is not very well known throughout most of Europe, but for some strange reason it's quite common in southern Portugal and southern Spain, although it can grow in cold climates too. Here we have 29 varieties of loquats, and for 8 of them they are doing a very thorough description. They have 5 trees of each variety here, not 3, because they are doing a very thorough description of 8 of those varieties. I think he mentioned something about 51 or 52 different characteristics of the plant. So this will be the official description, the official international description of those varieties. So they are putting a lot of effort into quantifying and qualifying all the different features of those loquats. Here is the apple collection, 32 different varieties. 2 or 3 of them are commercial varieties. The remaining ones are from the area of Monchique, which is a mountain town in Algarve. Here they call it Pero de Monchique because the apples are a little bit pear-shaped, like compared to really flat varieties like Reinetta. Basically, as you can see, here it's a little bit too warm for apples. Those flat varieties like Reinetta, they seem to drop their leaves in a proper way. But those mountain pears from Monchique, it's too warm for them. They don't understand that they have to drop their leaves for the winter. And so, those big collections here, they were usually amassed between 2012 and 2013, including the apples. But now, the collection will be basically, well, they are making a copy of the collection in Monchique because they just see that the climate here is not perfect for apples. They'll keep those apples here, but they will take grafts from each one, bring it back to the mountains, make a collection there, and the big collection will be there because this is simply no climate for apples. Yes, they do grow here, but as you can see, they don't grow well. Deciduous trees, they should rest in winter, and those didn't drop their leaves. So this is not really where they belong. in a warm climate like the Portuguese Algarve. Those belong in the cold mountains, and that's where they are bringing the new collection now. This is the pomegranate collection, 82 varieties, about 2 or 3 commercial ones again, and the rest are collected from all the different towns and cities of Algarve. The local group of varieties called Aceria. I think I'm butchering the name again. So basically most of those 82 varieties are from this Aceria group, with a couple commercial varieties just to compare the performance. And in order to save on pesticides, they have started using nets here, black nets. The irrigation tubes are underneath. They will put those black nets also in the other collections this year. It kind of looks ugly, but it fights the weeds and it saves a lot of pesticides. So I guess it's better than having to spray with pesticides. Beautiful collection. There is another big collection here on the Algarve. There is a Germaplast collection in the city of Faro, which you cannot visit this year, but probably next year it will be possible. It will be open to the public. Germaplast collection, that means it's not a nice garden, but everything is in labs and in cold storage. Still interesting if you want to find a certain variety. They have about 300 varieties there. I'm looking forward to visit this place again in summer if possible, and also visit the big Germaplast collection. Many thanks to Senor Antonio Mareiros, who showed me around here and who is taking great care of this collection. Stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from the beautiful and fruit-rich region of Algarve. And of course, don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.